research that we do in-house is an integral part of the services that we offer, and it's a very important part because this is how we identify the best sustainable companies and opportunities that are in the marketplace for our clients. And Lee heads up our research department and looks at sort of factors that make a good sustainable company.
With Kevin Rudd and now Barack Obama coming into power, and climate change happening, we can feel it with the weather, and we can see it with changing patterns around the world. There's a real sense of change, and now's the maximum opportunity to set portfolios up properly and then to use that money to help facilitate the change. Some traditional companies are clearly going to fall by the wayside over the next 20 years, like coal companies. And there's other emerging technology which is clearly going to come through. And flowing on from that, it's the banks that support these kind of technologies, and where they invest their money, there's an opportunity to really set a portfolio up for 10 years of changing world.
And it's about giving the investor a reasonable amount of information to help them make a decision in regards to which side of the fence they might sit on if there's a company that's not obviously great ethically, or obviously something that we need to screen out. It's about having a reasonable amount of information and working with the investor to help them decide if they're going to be happy with that particular company.
Very clear that some companies give you a lot of information, and you can pick up on that straight away. They're very clear with what their risks are and where they're coming from. And then there's other companies that are less transparent, and you get the sense that they're withholding information, and you have to dig much harder, and you actually have to call the company and ask them hard questions.
So how is the company treating all of its stakeholders, not only its shareholders but its employees, customers and the communities within which they operate? So there's quite a wide range of issues, and the priority of those issues also changes over time. Obviously now with the big concern about environmental issues, that is a big focus.
Yeah, I think some issues do change, but then there's other ones that always remain fairly big negatives for us. I mean, we would never look at investing in anything with tobacco sales or tobacco producers. Alcohol is pretty much ruled out straight away. Oil companies, weapons manufacturers, of course, are ruled out straight away. Mostly things to do with uranium and nuclear power. We find most of our clients aren't responsive there. So there are these broad things which we always rule out. And then, of course, on the other side, there's these broad things which we always like to include, like healthcare companies that provide a very good service to the community. And renewable energy, of course, is a positive.
Organic farming, waste management.
Yeah, waste management's a good one, because there's many benefits in waste management. You have to look after your landfills properly, make sure there's no leakage there, and there's a lot of methane that gets produced from landfills, and then that methane can be used to produce renewable energy. So you've got to look after it from a negative point of view, and if you look after it properly from a negative point of view, it can turn into a positive. I also think there's another intangible benefit to offering an ethical investment service is, aside from your money supporting companies that you want to go well in society, there's this element where it's consistent in your mind that your investments are in the same spot as your ethics, and this provides a very positive effect on our self-esteem. It's a non-monetary benefit to investing, so it takes the focus completely, so it's not completely on money. It brings other elements in, and then the other elements are the focus of the investing, which I think are important, because if our world is too focused on capital and increasing capital, whilst that still remains a very important point, it's very beneficial to bring in these other elements into as well. It makes you much more consistent in your life and how you want things to be for yourself as well as for the world.
And we've been around for years talking about those sort of things, and with our investors, and our investors are highly aware individuals. And finally, now with the push from organisations and investors and super funds, companies do have to stand up and address the issues that for a long time they've been happy to ignore.
2 or 3 years ago, from some of the coal companies, you would never hear a word of sustainability. They would just try and ignore it. But now you see in the very first page of their financial reports, whether they're talking negatively or positively,
yeah,
sustainability is there. The word carbon is there.
Well, I think that issue that you brought up there about companies having to address carbon and climate change and sustainability in their annual reports, I mean, it hasn't been very long that the companies have started to address those issues, and probably less than 5 years ago they would have said, oh no, we won't worry about that, or we don't need to consider that, it's just the greenies.
If you read enough sustainability reports from companies, because they're all putting them out now, it's you pick up the vibe. You can generally tell very quickly those ones that are meaningful and those ones that have quantified a difference, and then those that are just all a little bit wishy-washy. You're not really quite sure what they're saying. They're just doing it because they think they should do it. And then there's other companies, and you can tell that they're genuine. They've got real numbers in there, how much they're changing. They compare themselves to the industry, and you can see that they're leaders.
Ethical investment portfolios have been looking at these issues for years. Now it's all coming out into the mainstream. So the research that we have behind us and the way the portfolios have been set up mean that ethical investors are at the forefront of this way of thinking and this wave of change that's going to happen as a result of the shake-up in the financial markets.
That ultimately we want the idea of ethical investing or sustainable investing to be mainstream, and possibly that's the way it's going now, and the work that we've done over the years is creating an awareness in companies that now they will adopt these practices.